Right. Welcome again to today's telecast. Today I'll be talking about the visits of some important people from America with one Reno Omokri from Nigeria. Like, you know, he just reminds me of that, that fellow at the Charlie Kirk's presentation at UVU, where he was like, arrest me. And I gather he was at, there on 9/11 and some other auspicious type of places where he happens to be all the time. Now, this fellow brings some Americans to prove to them that there is no religious genocide. Now, I'm going to leave a link. I've said this before. To say that there's no, killings of Christians will be, dabbling in suspension of disbelief. Okay? Christians have been killed from time immemorial in that country for years and years and years. Most of those pictures that are shown, are not recent pictures. Okay? Some of them date back years, some are recent. But one thing people are forgetting is that it is not the current government that's responsible for these killings, okay? It was the previous jihadists, intruders, invaders from Morocco, Arabs, okay, who invaded the country, and the British conveniently made a very tiny, teensy-weensy minority the ruling class. And they have been at the helm of affairs when most of all these killings were taking place. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's killings going on. This current government has done the best of all governments combined to try and stop these killings. Okay? Just a little quick fact for people listening out there. This current president, though he's a Muslim, he's actually married to a Christian, and not just a Christian, a pastor in one of the largest churches in Nigeria. And he allowed her to bring up their children as Christians, ladies and gentlemen. And the other day I saw a Twitter post or an account. 2014, he was not yet the president of Nigeria, where he decried the killings of Christians. Why? Because it's close to his heart. So all these recent attempts at destabilizing the country, we know where it's coming from. We understand the politics behind it. Nigerians should not fall for it. I think, we shouldn't make too much of it, because already right now, I think most decent governments, okay, not puppet ones, most decent governments understand how world politics works. Okay, some rare earth minerals is discovered in your country, oil is discovered, and they kind of set you up against each other, and while you're busy fighting, they're busy cutting away your resources, on the cheap, nice and easy, and you've got nothing to say. Okay? Or they want you to do certain things. Okay? Allow gay marriage, or allow this kind of other nonsense that's going on across the world. Okay, the green new scam, those kind of things, take God knows who from where, simply because you're considered too poor to say no. And then this current president says, hell no. I'm sorry, I'm standing, beside a cross. He says, hell no, I ain't gonna kiss any rings or any other stuff. So what do? They already have an army that's been battling him ever since. So, just anything for our nation. So they're stirring up all this mud, forgetting that it's totally in opposition to the campaigns they are mounting in other countries against such terrorists, okay? There are plenty of them. We've just had a peace deal done. Kudos to President Trump. I don't think anyone else could have done it, but he did it with, a great team behind him, Secretary Rubio, and, the Jared Kushner and all the other people, and even the Benjamin Netanyahu and his team and the Knesset, the IDF, and all these people, Mossad, okay, the CIA, they all agreed, and there's a ceasefire, okay? And yet, because the Nigerian government has refused to do a few things, allow our minerals to be carted away, or allow, some humans from another place to be dumped on us. Not our problem that they broke the laws. Biden should be asked, Kamala should be asked. They can ship, I'm sure they've got mansions. Obama in particular can be asked, okay? He's got heaps of places where they can keep these people. I remember, they were like, oh, we love immigrants, we love, until they took them to Martha's Vineyard. They didn't even spend like 6 hours. They came out. In case you don't know, in case you've not been following American politics, Martha's Vineyard is the, how will I say, is the Lekki, it's the Maitama, it's the Asokoro, it's the, big cities, wherever of your country, Accra, God knows. I count my village, my town as a big city, like Zonkwa, okay? Very important. So they took them there and they were like, hell no, we'll pray for you. We're hungry. I remember the verse in the Bible that says, if a neighbor comes to you and says they are hungry, will you just say, well, be thou filled, and send them away without food? But that's precisely what they did. They just loaded them back into the bus. Back you go to the area for the poor people just like you. Thank you very much. We love immigrants, but not in my backyard. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, you guys, I love your smile. I love your spirit. You made that trip. It was just wonderful. And thank you. See you at the next election so that we will fast track your citizenship and you can vote for us. So thank you very much. Get on into the bus to the ghetto where you belong, or to the downtown, the poor areas. So that kind of nonsense. I'm glad to see Omokri bring people, okay, to talk. But I think the more we keep beating about this kind of things, the more, Nigerians will start to conflate the issues, and even people watching from outside will be like, hey, what's going on? I spoke to a Christian friend of mine today, and I explained to her, her husband, is a retired, very important person in the church. And she said, oh, all those killings going on in Nigeria. I'm like, yeah, what killings? She said, oh, the Christian killings. I'm like, okay, which ones? Oh, it's been on the TV. I said, oh, the ones that Bill Maher, in his, bless you, Bill Maher, in his kindness, in his objectivity, finally used to shame the press, and all of a sudden it's in every press, even here, like it's everywhere you turn. Oh, killings in Nigeria, killings. So I now broke it down to her that these killings have been going on right from when I was a young girl. She said, what? I said, yep, they've been going on under the murderous jihadists who want to Islamize the whole country. And it's a land grab, actually masquerading as a religious problem. Huh? What? She says. I'm like, yes. Go find a book about the history of Nigeria. You know, the northern strip of it, they don't look like me and the next person that looks like me, okay? They are Arabs. They came from Fez in Morocco. And their plan was to take their Quran and dip it from, you know, Chinese sea to from one sea to the other. But they were stopped somewhere midway in the country. And there was a bit of a lull. The British made sure, well, oil was found. It often bothered me that, you know, oil was found in 1948 and the British gave independence in 1960. Is that possible? That such a valuable commodity was just found and you are leaving? Something always smelled fishy. But now I understood as I grew older, or I understand now, because they've planned it, they've set it, they've taken on these Fulani Arabs and married them to the Negro houses and called them Hausa Fulani, and then divided the country into North and South. And then gave this false number that the North was bigger than the South in population. Now, most of the far North is actually desert. There's no one there. The only people living there are the sand dunes, okay? Not human beings. In that North, more than half of it is occupied by non-Islamic, multi-ethnic, mostly Christians groups. And so as they continue to expand or try to expand their territory and take it further south, who is in their way? These Christians in the Middle Belt. And that's where most of these killings have taken place over the years. You know, over the years, them just trying to destroy villages, destroy churches, make people run away to all these IDF or IDCs or whatever they call them, and they will take over the land and settle, and the government will just look the other way and in fact offer them protection. And as they acquired more land and made it a Muslim land, you know, stripping states of portions and making it an Islamic area when it was never an Islamic area, just north, you know, a large chunk of the Middle Belts. So all these herder-farmer clashes, yeah, there are herder-farmer clashes, but behind it, the driving force is a land grab. And the people who own this land are mostly Christians. And if you stand in my way while I'm trying to get something, you get killed, which is what has been happening to the Christians, with the connivance of not this government, and I stress it again, not this government, the previous murderous jihadist regimes. And when it wasn't enough for the British, they kind of set up coup after coup after coup. And who were the ones that were ruling during these coups? Mostly, again, these Muslim jihadists. Okay? And so that fight has been there. And I thank Bill Maher for finally, you know, making the lazy press, okay, the dumb street media, wake up to their responsibilities. But, you know, it's nothing new. We're used to it. They only cover stories that promote their agenda, like, you know, the fake Green Deal or fake green scam, as Trump calls it, and, you know, all this other agenda of, you know, how will I say, my big sons, okay, playing in some little girls, whatever, those kind of agenda. Yeah, those are the ones they cover. And they cover the ones where people blatantly break the rules of a country, get in there, and, you know, Trump is trying to get them out, and, you know, they unleash Antifa and these other idiots on ice, okay? They've been protesting Palestine for God knows how long, okay? I don't necessarily agree with everything Israel does, but if someone says they don't want me to exist, well, I'm going to defend myself, whichever way I feel possible, okay? And if no one's coming to my aid, well, I have to make sure that I am guarded like 360. If I know someone's looking out for me over this end, at least I can face my front and just look around like this. Or someone's looking here, the other one's looking there, or behind. At least I can face my front and just do one thing. But when I'm surrounded 360 by enemies that want me out, I'm sorry. And when, you know, the terrorists plant themselves in residential areas, in special areas like hospitals, well, they're asking for what they get. Lest I transgress, the purpose of this particular talk is that it is not the current government that's responsible for all the pictures that you are seeing, okay? It was the previous murderous jihadist regimes that have been ruling that country practically since independence. Practically since independence. This government is actually the one trying to decapitate the caliphate and set the natives free from being captives to these jihadist, murderous people who want to turn the whole country into an Islamic country. It's going to be an epic fail. They're already failing and they're already feeling the heat, and that's why they're up and down. They don't even know what to do. You know, today they called president this, then the other day that, and you know, their alliances keep changing like you're flicking the remotes on your TV. No, it's not gonna go anywhere. The people in the Middle Belt, their eyes are finally open and they've stopped regarding themselves as Northerners. Most Middle Belt people that I have spoken with or to now call themselves Middle Belters. I've called myself a Middle Belter ever since, okay? I'm a proud Zonkwa girl, a proud Baju girl. I speak Jew, and no one's gonna ever take that away from me, no matter what happens. So let's set the table straight. Ted Cruz was the one that triggered this visit, so-called, by what he wanted to get passed in Congress. I think he himself and some congressional people and some Christian people need to go down to the country, or you know, travel to Nigeria and talk to reasonable people, okay? If you talk to the press in Nigeria, you'll probably get the same as the press in your country. I'm afraid. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. You'll probably get the same answers. But you need to sit down with reasonable people who were old enough to know the history of the country and when all this spate of killings started. Will the killings stop today? No. Will they stop tomorrow? No. Will there be killings in the future? Yes. I'm sure of that. But be sure, this particular government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done everything possible within their power to make sure that they keep Nigerians safe. And a lot of nobody like Nigerians like myself know it. We feel it, we see it. Well, when I travel, I feel it, I see it. I speak with my relatives and they tell me. And So to have a narrative as if, oh, all of a sudden fire on the mountain, they're killing Christians in Nigeria, let's rush there, what's happening? No. We know the trick. Okay, we know the trick. It's about rare earth minerals. It's about Tinubu refusing to take people who are not Nigerians into Nigeria, creating another version of the jihadist Fulanis, okay? That's all it's about. And that's why they're trying now to stir up trouble so that down the track they can say, well, you can't govern the country, so you gotta leave because the insecurity is bad. And then the Christian lobby group will be fed arrant nonsense by both the media in Nigeria as well as the media in the United States especially. If you want to know the truth, I believe the countries that matter, they have security agencies in that country. They know every damn nitty-gritty. I have an idea they even know what my dad had for dinner last night using their satellite whatnot, okay? And when he came back from the farm, they know that. So let's put the blame squarely where it is and where it belongs. There are killings, but majority of the pictures you're seeing were killings from years ago that they've dug out and they're brandishing it around. Some of them are recent, and I'm not downgrading that at all. Some of them are quite recent. I have personal experience, so it pains me to even stand here and be talking. I've lost relatives to these murderous jihadists. So that's why, I can stand here and talk, because I saw it even as a child and I saw it growing up. It didn't change. Even when I left the country, it was there. It was terrible. Christians were marginalized. Nobody cared. And then now all of a sudden, because Tinubu refused to do two things, I've been repeating them in this tape. People who normally should be his allies are now siding with the jihadists to stir up trouble so that, they can kick him out of office. Well, if you do, good on you, because you think Israel has, doused Hamas. All right, these ones here, they've got various branches with various names. They will just raise up another army, okay, with whatever little funding there is from Tehran and their other murderous sponsors. They'll just raise up another army and cause all kinds of trouble, which ripples as people now running to your countries to seek refuge. I'm talking the United Kingdom, Europe, America, and most of the other big countries. One of the driving forces for people trying to, emigrate to your countries is because of these murderous jihadists. Because they stay in the country, it's not safe, they are discriminated against because they are Christians, okay? They are killed, their relatives are killed, and they see it as safer to ride a rickety boat to try and cross into Spain and into Europe and make the journey to Mexico and try and cross and come to America. That actually is one of the root causes of your immigration problems. So if you want it solved, you need to support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to finally help this country decapitate that caliphate, that murderous jihadist, terrorist caliphates that invaded our country in recent memory. Like, it's not before Christ or after Christ or all these kind of thousands of years. This history is not that long. It's just recent, okay? It's recent. And I'm glad to see that even the houses are now coming out to say, hey, we're not Fulani, like you're Fulani, just stay there, you know, live with your crimes, don't call us. Well, very convenient, I'll say, because they used you as foot soldiers and you benefited. Okay, they used you as foot soldiers to carry out their deeds, kill people, you know, while they install themselves as the elites, emirs, governors, all the big parastatals of governments they controlled, okay, and left you with your almajiris and your children not going to school, okay, and then they spawned Boko Haram, which reinforced the illiteracy amongst your children while they, you know, feigning Islamic tenets, sent their schools to the evil countries, America, UK, all the nice, good countries. They sent their children to go their school, come back, and dominate your own kids. Some of us were fortunate, the Lord helped us, and we got opportunities to show that, you know, given the right opportunity and the right environment and the right space, you can contribute to wherever you are. And if I had that opportunity in my country, nothing will take me to another country. Why? Because I love my country. It's beautiful. Anytime I go home, I feel so calm, like so relaxed. And I'm thinking, why do people go to therapy? Please help me. Just go back to where you call home. But I know that for many people, that's not a possibility. So, if you want to help restore some confidence, some calm, some peace, some continuity in this campaign to stop these murderous jihadists, you gotta support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I want to add again that this is a Muslim who is married to a Christian, and not just a Christian, she is a pastor. She was a senator, and he allowed her to bring up their children in the Christian way. So I do not see how he will allow Christians to be killed. That's not him. All the things you're saying was not him, is not him. He is the fixer. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, God be with you. Thank you.